I don't know if you know who this guy is. This guy, Tom Nichols. So this is going back to the Hotez won't go on Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan, because Hotez came out and started discrediting Joe Rogan and RFK Jr., saying that they're spreading misinformation. Joe Rogan invites him on the show. Hotez won't go on the show. This guy, Tom Nichols, Radio Free Tom, he says no medical professional should ever agree to do this, mean debate a critic, a skeptic of the vaccine program on a national platform. Why? Well, he says it elevates the conspiracy guy. Fuck off. That's what they're doing now. So they never have to answer questions from anybody. How about we have Robert Malone and Dr. McCullough and Dr. Pierre Corey? Those are all the leading doctors in their field. But we have that debate with them. That's why this guy is a liar. So I don't know who this guy is, but he's a big liar. And he's full of shit. He said it elevates the conspiracy guy. The conspiracy guy is Hotez. The conspiracy guys are the people who told us that we could vaccinate our way out of this pandemic. The conspiracy guys are the guys who told us lockdowns worked. The conspiracy guys are the guys who told us masks worked. The conspiracy guys who said natural immunity wasn't a thing. The conspiracies, those were the conspiracy theorists, not RFK Jr., okay? So elevates the conspiracy guy, demeans the medical professional, and will only convince the kooks out there that RFK is right because a real doctor took the time to debate him. That's not how it goes. Everyone has lost confidence in our public health system. Everyone has over COVID. So now you're supposed to go back out and try to repair that. But they're not going to do it because they're wrong and they lied. And guys like Tom Nichols are there to run interference for the liars about COVID, for big pharma liars, for government corrupt, murderous liars. This guy is there to run interference for them. Do you know who this guy is, Kurt? This guy, Tom Nichols, Radio Free Tom. Did you ever hear of him?
Yes, but I don't remember why.
He says, never debate a conspiracy theorist. Okay, well, Joe Rogan responds to that guy. He says, that would be a great suggestion if you could assure that the industry you were representing wasn't completely captured by heartless monsters who have a history of some of the biggest criminal fines in human history because their deception has cost hundreds of thousands of people their lives. It would be a great suggestion if the industry you were defending didn't occasionally look at human beings as an opportunity to generate insane wealth, regardless of the tragic consequences. But you can't do that, so maybe it would be a good idea to have the effing debate.
Yeah, maybe. Probably a bad idea if you're Tom Nichols.
Bad idea if you're Tom Nichols. So Mark Cuban jumps in.
Oh, this guy, he's got a lot of great takes.
Mark Cuban.
Spoiler alert. Mark Cuban has some of the best takes.
Mark Cuban has some of the worst takes in history. Here it comes. He says, way to talk in generalities, Joe. Not saying there aren't a lot of effed up things about pharma.
That's general.
No, that is what you're saying.
So if there's a lot of
you're just saying that in a generality. Immediately, he contradicts himself.
Now advertise your company, Mark.
That's why we created. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. So now you know Mark Cuban, what he's all about.
I'm calling for an embargo against Mark Cuban.
So Mark Cuban is plugging this company he has. But to ignore that, the same industry has saved who knows how many lives is bullshit. And you know it. No one is saying that.
Yeah.
No one is saying that some pharmaceutical drugs aren't lifesavers. No one ever said that. We're saying that they're lying about lots of drugs and lots of medical procedures and that a lot of people are getting injured. So why is it got to be what? So he's saying you can't. So you can never criticize big pharma because they make drugs that work too.
What's
so
next?
So I shouldn't have said anything about Vioxx. We should have never said anything about that.
What, you're gonna blame OxyContin for the opiate crisis?
Right. So you're not supposed to. So if you ever criticize them, they go, they make a lot of drugs that save people. That's a bullshit. That's not an argument, Mark.
I can hear a dedicated, good Catholic boy when the church saves lives. You're talking about some molested kids,
right? That's exactly right.
They molested.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
A couple of kids.
They molested some kids, but they saved a lot of lives. People literally did do that, Kurt. People literally did that. They would point to they would point to Catholic charities. So this is what he's doing. He's like,
This
why
is
you
awful.
why this is I know
I can't stomach it.
Oh, I suppose Joe Rogan, you big bully, you're going to want to debate Greta Thunberg on climate change next.
He said it also it's disrespectful to all the doctors, researchers, and medical professionals that dedicate their lives. You mean having a medical debate?
What about the doctors?
How is that disrespectful? That's not how science works by questioning it, you stupid billionaire.
Look what he said.
I'm going to, Kurt. Hold on. That's not how it works. This is not how science works, by bullying and shaming people to shut the fuck up and stop asking questions about experimental medical treatments. That's not how science works, Mr. Billionaire. What a moron. This shows you could be a big moron and get $1 billion. Trump's got $1 billion. What do you want to say? Here we go. You aren't...
the part about he's disrespecting the 800K doctors.
800,000 plus doctors in the country that believe vaccines save lives.
What? Believe? I thought they did tests.
There's nothing about believing. There's empiric. That's not how science works. It's not religion. So you're telling people to stop asking questions because some other guys believe something.
You're disrespecting their beliefs.
You're disrespecting like it's a religion.
That's
You're disrespecting their belief.
This is really triggering me.
You are trying to find the ground truth on vaccines. Of course, that's what they're doing. What do you think they're doing? Trying to mislead people and take on the whole goddamn world and the biggest, most moneyed propaganda machine in the world? They're doing that for fucking kicks, you stupid idiot. You think they're doing that for Joe Rogan's? You asshole.
This gets worse. This gets worse, the whole thing.
If you
want to scream the whole time.
were, you would bring on someone who focused on debating the issue, like the real truther. What? He's...
Is he a doctor?
Trying to bully Dr. Hotez is ridiculous. Dr. Hotez is the one who did a tweet discrediting Joe Rogan and RFK Jr. and smearing them and slandering them in public. But somehow Joe Rogan is bullying him.
Don't read the rest, Jimmy. Don't read it. You're going to
You have producers that will prepare you and get you to control the conversation. So literally, these guys can never be questioned. You can never question Fauci. You can never question Hotez. You can never question Bill Gates. You can never question Walensky or Collins. Who can you question and where can we do this, Mark? Can you set up a hermetically sealed studio that we can question these people without producers? Why can't we do you understand? So this is why Mark Cuban is a dummy.
I'm sorry. This is a Dr. Hotez. So you're telling me the producers are going to prepare him to debate with a guy who should know all the stuff that he's talking about because he's a goddamn doctor? That's bullying for the doctor to be asked medical...
a vaccine expert, a guy who's put himself out there as a vaccine expert.
Invented a vaccine.
Every day of his life, invented vaccines, sold his vaccine to India. It works with Bill Gates, has $82 million in grants for vaccines, has complete control of the media. Whenever he wants to go on big pharma media, he gets invited on. But somehow Joe Rogan is bullying him by asking him to come on and defend the stuff that he said about Joe Rogan in public. Boy, I never knew Mark Cuban was this big of an asshole.
Didn't?
I didn't.
He's like a punchline for years and stuff.
Well, he should be.
In Adam McKay movies before Adam went full Blue MAGA.
So, Joe, you and Elon Musk and Twitter are the mainstream online media, and your platforms have become everything supposedly wrong.
Oh, God.
What?
This is such...
How? What? Show me the misinformation Joe Rogan has spread. And if you can't do that, shut the fuck up, Mark Cuban.
Way to talk in generalities,
wow.
Mark Cuban.
You are driven by self-interest. Oh, my God. Unlike Mark Cuban.
He started by advertising his...
I know.
You know, Jimmy, I was in a good mood today because SBF was quietly had his charges dropped on a beautiful, magical Juneteenth, and now this happens.
So he's saying they're just like Big Pharma, and you know how he's saying they're just like corporate media, and you know how you can tell they're just like corporate media because there's a huge controversy over them talking about stuff that corporate media will never talk about. So that's how you know they're just like corporate media, because they're causing a huge controversy that you're weighing in on because they want to talk about stuff that mainstream media will never touch with a 10-foot pole. So that's how you know they're exactly the same. What a moron this guy is.
Here's one major difference. People actually watch this.
So yeah,
What do you do? People care about watching this. That's why this is great.
So Patrick McDavid took him down. So our good friend Patrick McDavid over at
Are you
Valuetainment.
not Valuetained?
He says, Joe trying to bully Dr. Hotez. Interesting. Let me address his first bullying. Millions of Americans from all walks of life were bullied into taking the vaccine. Some forced, many coerced. Many threatened to lose their jobs. Thousands of businesses went bankrupt. Families were divided on the vaccine issue. Late night hosts doing sketch that dressed in syringes.
Never seen that before.
NIH director flip-flopping on masks. Mainstream media calling those who question the vaccines conspiracy theorists. And you're calling Joe Rogan a bully?
Wow. Pretty great. Pretty great, Patrick David.
Yeah.
I mean, that says it all.
He's got one more. I'll show you. He goes, comparing Elon Musk and Rogan to mainstream media. That's a bit of a stretch, but I have an idea why you would say that. Before October of last year, these types of conversations were not possible on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, only in private settings. Many content creators were silenced if they interviewed people with opposing views on COVID. Our RFK Jr. interview was taken down by YouTube 2 years ago. Content creators were walking on eggshells, afraid of being deplatformed. Musk isn't silencing anyone who argues for vaccines. He's actually creating a climate to have the debate. Just this week, MSNBC and CNN both said they won't air Trump's speech because they already knew in advance that he would tell lies. As if Joe Biden only tells the truth. That sounds like a dictatorship where the elite know what's best for you and I. As if we can't think for ourselves. A bit arrogant and pompous, don't you think? That's exactly right. So arrogant and pompous is what Mark Cuban is, knows nothing about anything, and he's pushing the establishment narrative, and he's shitting on truth tellers. People who are the leaders in their field are questioning the COVID narrative, and he doesn't want it questioned.
By the way, you know what a scumbag
I wonder how much money he has invested in Pfizer and all that stuff. Maybe Mark, you don't think Cuban has money in Pfizer and Moderna?
Dude, just based on Shark Tank, I know that's one of the most scumbag. You should look into. I won't get into it, but the way they're exploiting people, if you did get your Shark Tank project off the ground, is unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Well, I just wanted to add to this, Jimmy. I didn't know how much Peter Hotez was worth. Any guesses?
Oh man,
How much is he worth?
Yeah.
Peter Hotez?
Yeah. 35 million.
That's it.
35 million. Well, that's what
You
he
tell
has
me
on
he's
record.
poor.
Are you kidding me?
He's considered one of the richest scientists. Hotez earns millions from various health organizations based out of China and the United States.
Well, no wonder Mark Cuban respects him.
No wonder. So I'm glad this is happening. I'm glad there's people like Patrick David and Joe Rogan out there, and RFK Jr. and this show to push back against all the lies. And isn't it amazing how people still aren't upset that they've been lied to since day one about COVID, about the vaccines, about natural immunity, herd immunity, mass lockdowns, closing businesses, firing people, and vaccinating kids, all that you've been lied to. Like on an astronomical level, and people's brains just can't comprehend it. And they still are angry at the people who are So, like I've always said, Kurt, we're a country full of adult children of alcoholics. We don't get mad at the person lying to us, which is Dr. Fauci and Anderson Cooper and Rachel Maddow and Hotez. We get mad at people who are pointing out that they're lying.
Yes.
People like Joe Rogan and RFK Jr. and this show. So that's called an adult child of an alcoholic, and that's what America is.
Don't tell us you got molested. It might harm the church.
That's right.
Satan's out there.
That's right. That's what that is.
Just be happy it was a priest that molested you and not just some guy. If you have to get molested, isn't it better by a servant of God? At least then a good person molested you,
All
not
right.
Joe Rogan.
Hey, come see us live on tour. We'll be in Bakersfield, Baltimore, San Francisco, Huntington Beach, Rosemont, and Chicago, Las Vegas, Salt Lake City, New York City, Pottstown, Pennsylvania, Stamford, Connecticut, and more.
Hey,
Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.